Gen X, real talk
at the heart of your community.
Welcome to the Gen X podcast. This episode is in collaboration with Lambeth Council and is all about community engagement. We are joined by three amazing guests. I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting with Amelia, then we've got Jeminat and Abigail. But Amelia, over to you.
Thank you. I'm Amelia. I'm Head of Community Engagement and Participation at Lambeth Council.
Thank you. And what inspired you to do that role?
That's a good question. I've been working in community engagement for quite a few years, but I think inspired into the role, I started working first with young people for charities, trying to engage young people in their wider community outside of school, in youth clubs, in kind of raising their aspirations, to know that they can be anything that they want to be. And then I started working for different councils, and then wanted to come to Lambeth because the community here, there is so much advocacy and just amazing people and projects coming together to show that they're proud of their communities and proud of their diversity.
Thank you. Okay. Jeminat, can you introduce yourself?
Hi. My name is Jeminat. I am the chair of the Lambeth Youth Council and the Lambeth Youth Forum.
And what inspired you to get involved in that?
I've been doing youth council since I was 12, and what inspired me is because I wanted to create a positive impact within like my surroundings, my environment, and I feel like I have like an innate belief where like one thing that you need to do before you like die and pass on or whatever is like create some sort of change within society, a positive impact, and like build a legacy where people remember you for something like is inspiring and something that's transcending that you've done. Yeah.
Thank you. And Abigail, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Abigail. I'm the founder of Ladies in Waiting CIC, which is a community organisation based in South London, Lambeth, and in Holland.
What inspired you to get into that?
I started Ladies in Waiting about 8 years ago, and then the pandemic hit, and I felt like I have a voice. A few women in our organisation had a voice. So why don't we come together and write a book? And then there was an opportunity for it to be registered as a CIC. And that's what I did. And because I was a frequent traveller in Holland, I saw there was a need there. And so I also started one there as well. So that's why I just felt that was needed for women and young girls.
And you mentioned there about having a voice. Why do you think it's important that people and members of the community are given that voice?
I think it's important because if you don't have a voice and you don't speak out, or you're not given any opportunities to, you'll be always put down to the wayside. And I think it's important that it's your human right to have a voice, and it's something that comes within you. And I feel like once one voice is spoken, another person can connect, and that will allow other voices to be heard.
Thank you. And I want to just pass that on to you as well, Amelia. And what would you say, why is it important for, as working for Lambeth Council, for you to hear like voices from the community and their input and things?
Yeah, I agree. It's really important for people to feel listened to feel understood, no matter their experience and what they're going through and what they're passionate about. People should feel able to express themselves, particularly in their local area, so that they know they've got other people around them that are similar, or they can get involved in projects that help them better understand how they can express themselves, or how they can build like a wider network in the community. But it's particularly important for us and for councils to understand if the support and the services that we're providing are the right ones for local people, and that local people feel empowered to shape the services, so they feel that they have a role in what their community looks like, and how they can kind of shape it collaboratively with us. Yeah. And make sure that we have the right projects in place to do that, and really lift up the voices and make people feel that it's their community too.
And how would you measure that, whether it is the right projects for the community, and how?
Good question.
If you
Yeah. No, really good question. I guess trying to have feedback on different projects. So making sure, I think it's really important that we're visible and we're out in the community. So for my team to be visiting different community groups, having conversations with residents, going to where they are, going to their spaces, and checking in. And doing that consistently, you know, not just a one-off, say once a year, asking if a project's working, but throughout the year being visible and kind of standing side by side with communities to check and ask what's working, what's not, and listening to what they think, you know, could change or should change. And holding a space for that, because as you can imagine, it's not always positive. We don't always get it right. I don't think any kind of areas have it right for communities, but being able to hold space to listen to that and try and be solution focused and try and kind of be positive in that we can make a difference together and we can work through some of the tough issues, but we can only do that together. We can't do it separately. If that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. And as part of the Youth Council, Jeminat, how do outside like voices and voices of the community help with what you're doing and trying to achieve?
How do outside voices of the community, or?
Yeah, so like people from your community, their voices and like being heard, how does that help with the work you're doing?
So in terms of the Youth Council, it's more, I would say, outside voices are supposed to come and support the Youth Council, I would say.
Okay.
And I would say that councillors are supposed to come into our meetings, and what we're working on is trying to make the Youth Council more like inbuilt within Lambeth Council, because I feel like what a lot of people like get, not get misunderstood about, but tend to forget is that young people are the future. And I feel like as much as you people listen to the, oh, young people are important, you don't really hear it and you kind of bypass it. And it's like, we're supposed to be working on initiatives and things together in order to help the reduction of violence within the borough. However, youth are one of the major like issues in terms of like youth violence, but we kind of get negated and they're closing down things or not putting in things in place in order to help youth violence, if that makes sense. If that answers your question.
Oh,
Sorry.
I appreciate that. And just move on to you, Abigail. With that, with your organisation, have you got a particular age group that you focus on, or is it a mix?
So we focus on young girls between the age of 10 to 16, and then we have the older women group, which is from like 18 late into 40s. Mm-hmm. So we had two. So we initially started with the older women, and then during the pandemic, we did like a pilot to see what would happen with the young girls, and we noticed there was a need. And so on the back of that, we created a course called Girl You Can Make It. We've had 2 cohorts, and the first cohort we worked with just solely with the young girls. But after we got feedback and we were able to explore that, we noticed that we also need to bring the parents in as well. And I feel like the first cohort, the girls were more doing things by themselves, but with our second cohort, they had a heavy support from their parents, which made things a bit easier. And so with that, we've been able to support more of the young girls, especially when it comes to self-esteem and building confidence.
Yeah. And do you find it challenging at all when trying to engage some of these young girls in the work you do? I
do find it challenging when we don't get to partner up with other schools. I think that is my biggest challenge, especially with our organisation, because I remember one time I sent like about 50 emails to all secondary schools and only one got back to me. And unfortunately that school is in Lambeth, which was a plus, but it's also now closed down. So it's really hard, and we do what we can on social media, friends and family recommend people, or signpost people to us. But our main ethos is that we need to be in the schools. Our staff need to be present in the schools for the girls, because sometimes you do hear like, oh, you know, there's budgets and so forth. But even if we were working or collaborating with the school, making sure that our course is part of the school's curriculum, or even if it's an after school thing, something would help, especially in the borough that, you know, I'm living in.
Thank you. I just want to touch back on something Jeminat said, and I just want to know from you, Amelia, do you think having the youth council more integrated within Lambeth Council would be a beneficial thing for both sides?
Yeah, definitely. It's a brilliant thing. Any youth project, the Youth Council, our Children in Care Council, any project that really works with young people to provide a space to make sure that they are listened to and can have a voice and a say, not just in the council, but in their wider area. Yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah. And Jeminat, you mentioned it, and that's something you'd like to see happen. How do you envision it happening, and what would it look like for you in the ideal world?
I would say coming to us first and making decisions. I feel like the youth council often is come to as a last minute resort, just to like as a checklist or a checkbox, just to be like, oh yeah, we came to Youth Voices, just double check. Or they might sometimes even outsource outside of the youth council. I feel like coming to us first and making it, okay, how do you feel like this will impact young people? Because regardless of anything that you're doing in terms of, oh, like building up Lambeth, it's going to have an impact on young people. And young people are just like smaller versions of everyone, adults of everyone. So I feel like making it a thing where, oh, you come to the youth council, we discuss your idea. Oh, okay, you've had some sort of youth voices, and then you take it back and say, oh, this is what the youth council have said. This is what we think. Oh, like maybe it could be better. Having like a proper institutionalized way of like making sure that the youth council is consulted on everything. Oh.
And with that though, there is, through some of the work that I've done in community research, especially in particular with the youth, there's been an issue that I've noticed of actually trusting some of these institutions and things like that. So how do you think that barrier could be overcome in a way to start to build that trust between institutions, councils and the youth, let's say?
I would say in terms of like breaking barriers in between like young people and like councils, if that's the question, right? Yeah. I would say speaking to us like we're like normal, like what, like speaking to us as well. You don't see us as less than, you see us as your equal. I feel like, no dig to any adult, but I feel like some adults have a complex where like, oh, just because you're a child, you don't know what you're saying, or just because you're a child, you're inferior. But at the end of the day, you was a child once as well. And it's just like, I've been in rooms where like an adult has said something where I'm thinking, hold up a minute, I've come up with a way better idea than this. Not being egotistical, but I'm thinking like, okay, but this is what you're saying, but actually there's another view, and this view might actually be agreed upon better than everything else. And I feel like breaking those barriers and just seeing us as equal. And I feel like in terms of like young people as well as like institutions and stuff like that, I've been like doing stop and search workshops with the Met Police and like fostering positive connections with young people and like institutions such as the police department. And I feel like the way they see each other as equal is just by speaking and being in the same rooms together and having things where they are involved and having icebreakers and things where you actually get to see the human side of people. Adults kind of, sorry from rambling, but adults tend to like kind of like hide themselves and kind of like portray themselves with these strict people. But if you let young people know like, oh, actually like, oh, like I like this, or oh, I'm on TikTok as well, or like just trying to find like a common ground, young people will be more than open to speak to people.
Thank you. And Amelia, do you feel like trust is maybe a challenge or barrier that you come across when doing the work you do within the council? Yeah,
definitely. I think, and I really agree with everything you said, I think trying to understand why perhaps trust isn't there. And I think a lot of it is around, you know, representation and voice of those in the council, but also action, you know, being meaningful with what we say and what we do. So when I used to work in children's services, all the young people would just say less talking, more action, because, you know, they felt fed up that there wasn't enough action. But also exactly like you're saying, for us to just be a bit more human, I think for councils and bigger institutions to humanise themselves When I used to work in children's services, we created like a worker profile for lots of the social workers and youth workers, just to say a bit about themselves, like what they like doing, their favourite food, just to start a bit of a conversation to show that we are all human. And like you say, we were all once younger, before you start trying to go into a deep conversation, I guess.
Did that approach work? Was there success with it?
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
It did. I think it showed that our music taste or our social media is pretty outdated sometimes, not as cool. Or like, I think I once said that my trainers were from Marks and Spencer's, and a young person disowned me for the rest of but no, it did work. And I think trying to help directors and senior leaders be a bit more open in that way, like have a bit of a joke and, try and break down some of the barriers. And in children's services, we run programs. In Lambeth, we did it the other week, Takeover Week. So that young people can, not just come in and visit the council and give us feedback, but actually kind of take on some of the roles. Yeah. Because like you say, that you've got a lot of insight, particularly on how we should shape services for young people. Obviously, it's young people that should be telling us that. So projects like that are really important. But I hear what you're saying. I think it's got to be consistent, and young people have got to feel that it's genuine and meaningful, and it's not a one-off.
Thank you. And Abigail, in terms of trust, has that ever been a challenge or barrier for yourself or your organisation?
I mean, building trust, maybe only from the research side that I've been able to see when it comes to building trust, when it comes with our organisation. I feel like we've been able to move into research in the last 2.5 years with my organisation, helping the women in the organisation and mothers get into research. And there, obviously at the beginning, there was a lot of questions like, where is it going? What's actually going to happen with it? But I've always said I have to be the guinea pig. So I have to go through it first and then explain my experience. And then that's how some people within the organisation or people that have recently joined feel a bit comfortable, because sometimes it's all about hearing someone else's experience. And through that, we've been able to build trust in that sort of way, answer questions, put everything on the table, be transparent. And that has been able to help and, foster more collaborations within the last 2.5 years.
Thank you, and I appreciate that. And I definitely agree. I think sometimes when people open up and you realise some people are going through the same thing as you, it just opens up that door for you then to be able to feel a bit more open, I guess, to actually share with others. I know, Amelia, you're going to have to go shortly, so I just want to make sure I ask you this. But ideally, if, in your opinion, what would you say your ideal vision would be for the future of community engagement and research within Lambeth?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think probably going back to the trust is making sure that we have lots of safe spaces to kind of have engagement, or have places where people can kind of use their voice and come together, because that's the only way we can do it, I guess. For people to feel that there are spaces or forums or platforms, kind of like the Youth Council, that actively encourage people to share their experiences, share their insight into what it's like in their area, or what they're going through, so that they have a space to kind of share it, but then build on it and create something positive, or just feel they've got a network of people that care. And if they want to, then shape services and work with the council or the police, they can. But other than spaces, I guess just continuing to uplift role models, and have so many role models in youth work and other kind of charities, but making sure that we continue to support those, because having positive people across the community to inspire people to use their voice or feel kind of heard and celebrated is really important. But yeah, I think spaces, people, and just the action behind it, so that if we are running engagement projects, we do what we say we're going to do, and we keep holding ourselves to account, because we don't want it to be tokenistic. We don't want people to feel that we bring them together and then there isn't the outcome that we had said would happen. Yeah, I think that's what I'd say. It's a great question, but I feel like I don't have the right answer. But
No, that was a great answer. Thank you, and I appreciate your time and you coming on as well.
Thank you.
We'll be back with part 2, though. We'll be back with part 2. That's fine. Welcome back to part 2 of the Senex podcast in collaboration with Lambeth Council. So, as you know from before, this is all around community engagement. Jeminat, I'm very interested in the fact that you've been involved in youth politics from the age of 12. That's a very young age, and I want to know more about that and sort of what were your first initial steps? What was the first things you were sort of researching or looking into at that age?
What did I do when I was 12? Oh my gosh, this feels like such a long time ago. So I started doing research and I was like, okay, what youth organisations are about? And then I stumbled upon the Youth Council. And then it was 2020, so it was COVID. So we had like virtual online meetings initially. And I think the first time we met was like 2021, late, I would assume, when like, not when we, let me not say that, but not when like Boris and them were partying. We didn't meet illegally, we met quite legally. And yeah, we came to the town hall and then we all met. And then I think from there, I think like everything kind of transpired. And like in 2022, I would say, 2022, 2023, I was given my own organisation from Lambeth, so the Youth Forum. And from there, I started creating events in order to prevent youth violence within the borough. So as I said prior, like working with the Met Police, working with Vogue within Lambeth, and like creating like stuff with South Bank and like music stuff and soundtracks and like all the different things that you would think in order to like reduce violence for young people in the borough.
And with that, so you were in collaboration with the Met Police. So how, with that relationship, what worked well with that collaboration? What would you say helped your side of things?
The first event I did with the Met Police was in a school. It was in a school in Lambeth, and we bought food. Yeah, everybody's food is the way to everyone's heart. We bought food, we bought snacks, we bought breakfast. So it started from like 8 till like 1 or 2. So we bought breakfast for them because that's how you win people over. You bring the snacks, the fruit, because like we don't be eating breakfast. Well, I feel like school kids, we don't be eating breakfast like that. But yeah, so it was basically that. And then after that, we did this or that. So we got the police involved, and we also got the students to try on police equipment. So I love the police equipment. I think it's really cool. Like the body vest. Like obviously, you're never gonna get to try like police equipment unless like you're in handcuffs or like you become a police officer. So giving them that interaction, and then the police all like laughing with them and stuff like that, and everybody wearing the hats, just looking suited and booted. Like everybody was looking cool. So I feel like that really helped as well. And then when we did the this or that, so basically, like say for example, do you think like, do you like KFC or McDonald's? And one people would go to KFC, go to McDonald's, the police would give their answer, students would give their answer, and just getting to know them on a human level. Because I feel like when people wear like police uniform, you kind of see them as, like these scary people, da, 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 da. But then after that, it kind of like they break the shield and they break the mold, and it's kind of, like you're human, like, you got a kid, oh wow, like, da, 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 da. Oh, you like this music, me too. Like it kind of like creates those, and then they had separate conversations as well, where students got to like understand like the police officers and get to know them on a deeper level.
Thank you for sharing that. The reason I asked is because that's a collaboration. I wanted to know sort of what worked well with that, and maybe that can be transpired to you working with other organisations as well, and they'll be better able to help you and work with you, and that could be an approach they use. So basically just get food, and then you'll be all right.
Yeah.
In terms of your organisation, though, Abigail, do you find collaboration a positive thing, or is it a must? Do you think you could do without it, or what is your whole view on collaborating with other organisations, councils, institutions?
I think collaboration is so important, and I feel like we collaborated more than ever last year. Working with different types of organisations, other CICs as well, because being on a CIC journey can be very lonely. And so when you're working with other CICs and you have a common goal, it helps. So I've worked with other CICs, not based in Lambeth, but based in East London, also based in South East London as well. But I think also working together with other organizations collaborating and coming to a common ground and come to a common understanding, it helps a lot, because when other people see collaborations happen, they can believe other things can happen, and that can lead into so many things and so many doors can open.
Thank you. And with the future of your organization, how would you see the future of community engagement in as a whole, and what would you like to see for your organization in particular, and where would you like to see it?
I'd like to see ladies in waiting in the future have women who become peer researchers, women who are able to shape their ideas, their lived experiences, and become more than maybe a PPIE group and so forth, for them to take it to another level. I would also love to see that in Holland as well. I'd love to see that collaboration where we continue to work with each other here and Holland, and maybe, who knows, some of the collaboration can even go there as well, and the partnerships. I'd like to see young girls as well take a step up in some leadership roles, whether in school or whether outside and in their local boroughs as well. It would be amazing to know a young girl sitting there saying, well, I started from Ladies in Waiting, I was on the Girl You Can Make It course, and now I'm here because it helped me boost my confidence. So yeah.
Amazing. And just quickly as well, going back to it, just in case anyone watching doesn't know, what is a CIC and what does it entail? How does it work?
So a CIC is a community interest company, and it's borderline a charity, but it's also a company as well. So you are registered on Companies House, but you also kind of do get charity benefits too, as well. Also, what happens with a CIC is you still got to, you got to do all the nitty bitty with the filing the taxes and so forth. But one thing about with a CIC is you can also get funding as well. You can also be able to create things for your CIC. So, for example, I create all the workshops, all the resources and so forth. And I think when you're having a CIC, it allows you to expand your creativity in different types of way, whether you have an idea or whether it's a burning passion or it's a lived experience. You're able to do that with a CIC. So it's similar to a charity, is not the same, but I feel like a CIC gives you more room to do more things, and you're not as restricted as maybe if you have like a charity.
Thank you. And in terms of your role, Jeminat,
Yeah.
back to you. Where ideally would you like to see sort of your role within the youth forum in the future, and what would you like to come from that?
From the youth forum or the youth council?
Both.
From the youth council, I feel like I'm kind of aging out. So I feel like in terms of the youth council, just like I'm big on like letting everyone like that's younger than me know everything that I did. So then they do it better than me. I want people to be better than me, because I feel like if you're better than me, you can do better. And then I can do whatever I've done, and then you can be better than me. And I've given you everything that I've known, all the connections that I've made in these like past however many years of like, oh, okay, this person can help you with this. If you need help in the council, you know who to go to. Oh, wait, you can go to this person for this idea. They'll listen to you instead of going to this person. And I feel like that's one thing that's really important, just making sure like an alumni for Lambeth Youth Council, and making sure that people have constant access to people who have passed them, and like create a network, because a lot of the people who have passed Youth Council have gone on to trained up to be lawyers, gone on to photography, film, so many different aspects. And then in terms of the youth forum, I feel like still just working with the Met Police, and still doing stop and search stop and search workshops, I'm really big on like, I'm the person, when you see the police stop and searching someone, I'm running. I'm like, okay, who's this? What are you doing? Oh, did you read them? They go wisely rights. Okay. And I really like make sure and engage and watch and be like, are you doing the right thing? Because some police, not all police, like to pull a fast one on people. And I'm very much like, no, this isn't right. So continuing to let people know their rights, I feel like is really important to me. I feel like if people don't know their rights, and they get into a situation, or your friend gets into a situation and they don't know their rights, I feel that can be very dangerous. And I just want people to be aware. I want people to know the knowledge that I wish I could have probably had in certain situations.
So is there a particular project or workshop that you've been involved in that really stood out for the impact that it had on those involved?
Okay, let's think. Sorry, this is I'm thinking, I'm
On the
filing
spot.
through my mind like, oh, which one do I love the most? Actually, I do have one. I did a workshop at a school, and I did a workshop at a school, or actually, no, sorry. I did a workshop at the Youth Summit, and this was in front of, the Youth Summit, Lambeth Youth Summit is the biggest Lambeth Youth run event, and it happens almost every year. Well, it happens every year, and it's run by the Youth Council. We had 600 attendees, and then we had almost 12, 13 secondary schools in Lambeth show up, and within that, we had all the young people come up with an idea on how to promote Go Wisely, which is, or Know Your Rights cards, which are obviously for stop and search. And we had the young people go into different groups, and within that, they came up with ideas, and they had to present it to everyone in front, like the rest of the schools and all the organizations that were set up. And the winning team actually now gets to work with the Met Police in designing like Know Your Right cards, promotional ads and stuff like that, I think. And I feel like that was really it was just really nice to see, because these young people were about year 9, year 10, so 14, 15, around that age. And I was just like, oh my gosh, they're doing better than me. Oh my gosh, wow, they're having the opportunities to work with the Met Police and see that the Met Police isn't this scary thing, and actually have an impact and have a say on how things reach the audiences of the same age as them. But yeah, that's my favorite.
Thank you. And for those watching, this is a special episode in terms of we do have a live audience. So anyone of you watching, I'd like to give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have for either Jeminat or Abigail about what they do or anything that they've said. And if you don't mind, we'd like you to join us on the podcast. So I think Emily should come up, because she's never been on a podcast before. So this is her time. We're not allowed. We can't move the mic, apparently.
I've got a question for Abigail. So I know you've been busily involved in the Community Knowledge Network for the past year or so, maybe longer than that. And I just wanted to get your take on kind of what you think is the biggest takeaway you've had from that experience.
I think my biggest takeaway has been showing the impossible. Because when Dion was asking Jeminat the question, it made me think of, I went to an event, so basically part of the CKN, which is the Community Knowledge Network. And I remember I brought my 2-year-old. She wasn't 2 at the time. She was 1.5. And she's ever so quiet. She doesn't, you wouldn't even notice there's a baby there. But I think what came out of that conversation was one of the organizations that we were collaborating with. She'd never seen it before. And she was because she's in a new space of being a mum, she got to understand, because she's been so much in the corporate part, she's got to understand that even if your season has changed, you can be a mum and also allow yourself, and still do your work and still have that around you. And I think that opened a lot of conversations, because a lot of mums wanted to attend some of the meetings, and I think they didn't feel like they could bring their children, or maybe and I think from there it kind of opened up different types of conversations. And so I think from being part of the Community Knowledge Network, it's opened not just that door, but also people who are elderly who probably didn't think that their voice mattered. I've been able to see a collaboration with different people who maybe didn't get to go outside as much, are now coming together and having a voice for the council or for the borough that they live in. So that's the positive part.
Ask a question for Jeminat.
Oh, okay.
And a question for you, Jeminat. So obviously I'm really interested in research and the benefits it has for the local authority. And is there any particular project that you've been involved in as part of the Youth Council or Youth Forum that you feel kind of does, and again, research is different things to different people, but sort of that research or evaluation lens, I'm really interested to undertake from young people.
Something that the Youth Council have worked on.
Yeah.
A campaign. My co-chair, Leah, she has her own campaign, and it's Beyond You, and it's basically about how young people should be more active within Lambeth, and it talks about a lot of research actually in terms of like young people's activeness throughout like the week, and like young people getting into gyms and stuff, and also not to like discredit Lambeth, but active Lambeth pricings and like timings for young people are just like, what's the correct word? A bit arguable, I would say, because say for example, school finishes at like 3 o'clock. You would only have like an hour-ish, I'm pretty sure, of like time to work out before it switches to adult time. And then the membership is even like £30 or £35 for a 14, 15-year-old. I don't know where you're finding 14, 15 pound at, 34, what is it, 35 pound as a 15-year-old. It's incredibly difficult. But yeah, she's working on a campaign to try and combat that. And it's very much research-led. So I feel that everyone should check into Beyond You as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Thank you, Dion.
Thank you.
Emily's first podcast. You did amazing, by the way. Would like to invite anyone else to come on and ask some questions. I think Diana should do it.
Come on, Diana. You must have some burning questions.
Okay, I guess a question for both of you guys. How do you think, in your field of expertise, do you think research could influence how you get people that you feel you represent, their voices heard, in a way that actually creates impact, not just visibility, but a way that creates policy change or things that are very tangible to people's lives?
Jeminat, go first.
Oh, sorry, can you repeat your question? Sorry.
What was it? Oh, how do you feel? Wait, what was my question? So how do you feel young people's voices can go beyond just representation, but also impacting policy change and having more tangible impact?
I definitely feel like it can go above representation. I've gone above representation. I don't represent like the whole of Lambeth or the whole youth council, but I definitely represent a big demographic in Lambeth, which is black girls. I feel like I have created a wave of where like, if you can do it, if I can do it, they can do it as well. And obviously I started at a young age, and I was inspired by my older sister who also did youth politics at her age. And she started at like, I think around my age as well, but she's like 27 now. So I'm very much like, okay, I want people to understand that you can do this thing. You can create events for young people where they're your age. As in, I was going into workshops at 15. So I was going into secondary schools at 15 to deliver workshops to people at 15. Like, they were the same age as me. So I definitely feel like in terms of policy changes and things like that, you can definitely create policies. I've been involved in policy making. I recently did legislative theatre with the Department of Education in terms of developing some new school AI tech. I feel like you just need to be around the right opportunities. I recently was on a panel for the regeneration of Port Brixton. I've been in these rooms, I've been in these places. Youth voice is definitely more transcending just amongst representation. It's more than that. It's knowing how to use your voice and instilling in the people your voice matters. And if you know your voice matters, you can definitely use your voice. And I've definitely used my voice like in these past 5 years. Sorry, yeah.
I think for me, my expertise, I think meeting people where they are. So if you want mothers to be part of the research and for it to go beyond, then you have to meet them at children's centres, primary schools. I mean, my first daughter's now in primary school. I would love to hear like, there's this research going on, and even if it was for an hour after school, they're in the school grounds. So mothers won't have to worry about childcare because they're in the school, and maybe some of the funding can go towards some of the teachers just to look after them for an hour to get the best out of them. Also, if it's women who maybe are facing like health challenges and so forth, then maybe organising something where maybe within a GP practice, if they have a spare room or something in the community, but it has to be meeting people at where they are, because right now, if you're going to get people, maybe some at work, some at home, and it's not really tangible for different people. But if you're meeting them at where they are, I think it will be better, and that can influence so much change. It can make a big impact, and I think you'd get the best out of people in that way.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. See, that wraps up this episode. So I'd like to thank Jeminat, Abigail for coming on, and Amelia who's left as well. Appreciate you for coming on the episode. Thank you for the audience as well. And yeah, we'll see you on the next one.
CenX, real talk
at the heart of your community.